Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics.
Welcome to Because Comics. This is episode 32. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the conspiring Mike Christensen. You know what's so weird?
They'll rue the day.
I thought of exactly that voice after I said that. I was like, is he going to do the...
You've heard me do that voice plenty of times.
Well, you do it most of the time, which is embarrassing, especially at restaurants and birthing parties.
People who,
I was hoping you were going to completely skip by that.
I was going to make a joke about how that's my real voice and how people are only just now.
But I completely sidetracked it with birthing parties.
Boy, howdy, do you mean baby shower?
Is that what they call them?
Well, that's what, when the baby isn't born yet.
You sure it's not a birthing party? They don't have parties in the rooms with people. Guys, I have like 5 kids. How do I not know this?
Do you just wait in the waiting room with cigars?
I throw birthing parties because in other rooms.
You should know, Jay. It's not 1950 anymore. They'll let you in.
They will?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I don't want to be in there. I want to be in the birthing parties. Clearly.
God.
Oh boy, did we get off track early.
So fast. Hey, so
speaking of which.
This is going to be a weird episode.
It is going to be weird.
We're actually recording on brand new microphones.
Yeah, we're recording in a new kind of studio setup here. It's nice.
So when you hear my real voice, that's just the magic.
That's really what Mike sounds like. He can't pretend it's not his voice anymore.
I can't hide behind the lower quality of our old microphones anymore.
So every episode...
What an episode this is going to be.
Oh, man. I'm going to get there. I'm going to make it. Guys, at the top of each of our episodes, we like to talk about the comics we're reading in our polls. And my current poll is from DC, and it's called Prez. It's written by Mark Russell and drawn by Ben Caldwell.
Cool.
Now, Prez, from what I have surmised, is it's kind of like a reboot or a retelling of a story. This had been done before, and this team is kind of bringing a new edge to this story. And basically, in summary, Prez takes place in the future, and by its name, Prez stands for a kid who has become president. So that's basically the summary of it. On the front cover of the book is a kid, like a teenage girl, standing on the front of a boat, very much from the famous George Washington painting of him crossing the river, and it's great. Now, this comic is amazing. I'm just going to give you guys some of the highlights.
Sure.
I've only read the first issue. I am completely in for this entire run. But basically what this comic does is it takes us to the year of, I believe it's 2026 in the future, when like social media has just pretty much encapsulated every part of people's lives. It's everywhere. It's in the media, like regular media. It's in politics.
What a bizarre hypothetical future.
Yeah, what a strange future this is.
I can't imagine it.
But it basically takes like what we experience now and dials it up to like the nth degree. Like it satirizes politics and internet social media in pretty much the exact same sentence. Like the comic kicks off with a bunch of politicians meeting secretly to like discuss who's going to be the next president. Like who do we have? We've got this option, we've got this one, this guy's terrible. Meanwhile, it cuts to a scene of a woman interviewing a political figure to talk about the new president, the new potential president. And in the background, you have like likes and unlikes for like everything they're saying.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the social media is integrated into every tiny aspect. Guys, there's other stuff in here. They do a trial by Facebook. There's a thing called Sick Starter, which is a Kickstarter for sick people. It's sad, but also terrible at the same time.
Wow.
They talk about how, you know, now that internet shows like on YouTube, there are just these internet shows that have like millions of followers, more followers than like network television does.
Yeah.
And it talks about how these new political figures go to these like ridiculous internet shows to talk about their politics. And the one internet show they go to, the biggest internet show, is called Puppy Slap, where 2 teenagers wear like a pig mask and have like ping pong paddles and slap you as you talk into the camera. And this guy's like, I'm trying to talk about like real views, and there's these kids just slapping him with paddles. And it's just,
wow.
It's hilarious, it's ridiculous, but it's just so amazing how they do it.
As a remake, it lends itself really well to a reimagining.
Oh yeah.
Because it's, I mean, certainly very of its time with the social media stuff that might presumably will feel very dated
Eventually,
probably not too long from now.
You know, Twitter becomes super Twitter and we're all plugged into machines, whatever it is. The main thrust of this is, of course, how does a girl become president? They've got these two kind of presidential stooges running against each other, part of the social media game, whatever it is. Well, the whole point is that because voter turnout is so low, they put presidential voting to Twitter. So anybody can just vote on Twitter, and there's this video going around, this viral video of this girl like accidentally almost like burning herself on a grill, this main character, the girl, and it has gone so viral that people are like, what about her for president? And she gets like enough likes and enough stuff in the polls that she's like a credible candidate in the presidential race. Just this joke viral video. And this is only the first issue. They haven't shown if she's gotten elected or anything, but it's like a really nice, probably since it's called Prez and she's in the front cover as the president. But it's a really amazing setup of this world, what we're experiencing. They even have like a clip of like a Running Man show in this future where you do like crazy stuff to like win $1 billion and join the billionaire club. And it's just, it's so amazing. And to end this, they're just to kind of give everybody a hint of like what the villains are of this comic is obviously these companies, these big conglomerate companies, and they're all in this secret meeting with these great images of these digital faces of their companies, their logos blocking out their faces.
Oh, wow.
Like one of them, the big evil one, is just a logo of a big smiley face. So I don't know if that's alluding to Walmart or I don't know what that's particularly alluding to, but the names of these fake companies are amazing. I'll just say two of them. One is Pharmaduke, which is a pharmaceutical company, and it has a dog with a needle in its mouth.
Wow.
The other one is Grizzly Tobacco, which is, as you can imagine, a tobacco company, who I believe's catchphrase is just like rawr or something like that.
Because it's grizzly, like a bear.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing, guys. I highly recommend Prez. All right, Mike, so what is your pull?
My comic is also sort of a weird futuristic views kind of thing, but it's not similar in the premise at all. It's called Ivar Timewalker.
Well, that's a cool name.
And it's actually, there's a comma in there. So it's not his last name is Timewalker, it's Ivar, comma, Timewalker.
So like an occupation, basically?
Yeah, essentially.
Like Harriet Jones, a time walker or a janitor.
Harriet Jones, British Prime Minister. It's the same thing, essentially.
Yeah, of course.
It's from Valiant Comics, and it's written by Fred Van Lente and drawn by Clayton Henry. And these guys have worked on another Valiant book, which this is a spin-off from, called Archer and Armstrong, which Fred Van Lente, I believe, co-wrote with Greg Pak, who's obviously, those two are great. They did Incredible Hercules with Clayton Henry for a while. Like, these guys have worked together for a long time. But basically, to give you a quick update, Archer and Armstrong, the Archer title character, is this immortal who's like 2,000 years old and just drinks and hangs out with poets and whoever else.
Of course, these are the two activities that you do as an immortal. You drink and you hang out with poets.
Yeah, he's just like, he just goes and hangs out with whoever, like whatever creative genius is, and they just used to go and have orgies or whatever they are.
Right.
He has two brothers, one of whom is immortal, called the Immortal Warrior, who I think is always fighting in wars. Like I don't know much about him. I've fallen off that comic a little bit because, guys, there's a lot of comics going on.
There's a lot of good comics out right now.
But he's always in wars and always fighting things. His other brother, I don't think is traditionally immortal. He's just a time traveler. Ivar.
So these are his two brothers.
Yeah.
One is an immortal warrior and one is just a time traveler.
Yeah.
That's a pretty tough act to follow at those family Thanksgivings.
So this follows Ivar. The first issue opens with him finding the woman who's about to invent time travel and just taking her into the time stream like Doctor Who, essentially. And they just start bouncing around just battlefields and things. Like they go and they're on like a Horatio Hornblower ship. I don't remember if it's Hornblower, but they're on one of those old ships in the middle of a battle, and they wind up, I think the second or third issue is all about not being able to kill Hitler.
Because I guess they had to address that like immediately.
They address it pretty quickly. They address two things that I think are great. One is that the timeline won't really let you do it. And because it's, certain things have to happen.
Like you can't actually go back to that point in time, or like you do it and it just changes it back to normal.
You can go there, but you're always going to miss, or something's always going to get in the way. Like, there's just circumstances will prevent you from following through on that mission.
Time, always pro Hitler.
The other
fan.
The other thing is that Hitler's life is just littered with time travelers. who are trying to kill Hitler from every era.
That's amazing.
That's the first thing everyone does.
You know what's funny? That's true. Like, if you could hand out or buy, like, time traveler equipment,
Yeah.
like, it would be on the box. It would be like, step 1, plug in to turn on power to time travel machine. Step 2, you cannot kill Hitler. We're sorry. We know you want to. You cannot do it. We apologize. Step 3, charging. You know, like...
And they have a lot of conversations about being able to change things, because there's a comic that reminds me a lot of the episode of Doctor Who from when they rebooted it, Father's Day, where Rose tries to save her father.
Right, and then there's...
Then weird things happen with
creatures
the
get all
timeline.
mad about it.
Yeah, and it reminds me of that in the sense that, like, she has something she wants to change, and Ivar has to sort of explain through the Hitler analogy, essentially, look, time travel doesn't work like you just can go and do things without repercussions, because there's always going to be. Also, some of the other time travelers, and a character who's shown up a couple of times, is a creature made of crystal with a bunch of eyes in it set into its body, and that's a form of social media. Because
Creature
Because
is
there's-
a form of social media.
because it's being directed by a bunch of people, so it's just shouting things like "LOL noobs" and things like that.
Does
or
it follow them around?
no, they run into it a couple times.
Okay,
in
I was going to say,
Hitler's-
because that's like the worst Chewbacca.
no,
Just
no,
a
they
crystal social media construct.
they run into it a few times, but because it's always trying to go troll history, essentially.
Lols just slapped Hitler.
Yeah, basically that,
Wow.
because it shows up, I think, twice in Hitler's timeline. But basically, imagine if Doctor Who was totally cool with, like, shooting someone, totally fine with that. Like, during the battle, like, where the guy does die during that battle, and Ivar pulls the trigger.
Really?
Like, just shoots the guy in the chest.
Like,
and
yeah,
just,
I've been wanting to do that for a while.
no,
now.
not even. It's just like, hey, what are you doing here? Blam.
Just doesn't give two thoughts about it?
Yeah, and he's, like, definitely run into himself from other timelines, and, like, hey, how's it going, buddy? And
And it just doesn't affect the timeline
because
at all?
because you're basically operating under the assumption that the timeline sorts itself out. Like,
Weird.
so he's like, she's trying to explain, like, it's basically, again, like Doctor Who, like, what happens, like, if I kill my grandfather? Well, don't do that.
Just don't kill your
Why
grandfather.
would you do that? But she's trying to, like, rationalize.
That's number 3 on the box.
She's trying to rationalize, like, well, what about the butterfly effect? And he's like, just don't step on butterflies. Like, what are you doing? Like, just do what you want to do.
That would be amazing if that's a rule of time travel. The only thing that can completely screw up time is if you kill your grandfather or if you step on a butterfly.
Yeah.
But anything else you do is totally fine and fixable.
But basically, it's just a fun time travel series, and if you're not reading Archer and Armstrong, you can still jump into Ivar Timewalker. The other character,
I mean, it sounds like an amazing premise.
Yeah,
just out the gate.
The other character, Neela, is so fun, and she is the audience viewpoint character, as all these books kind of have.
Right, asking the questions
Yeah.
that we would, of course, first ask when you can time travel.
And she's great as well. Like, it's just a great cast of characters, and Clayton Henry's so good. And guys, go check out Ivar Timewalker, because it's a hoot. And Valiant Comics is really good.
All right, well, that was our polls, and that'll take us right into our main segment. Mike, kick things off.
To Steal an Ant-Man. As I'm sure everyone knows, Ant-Man comes out on Friday.
What?
If you didn't know that, Ant-Man comes out on Friday.
Oh, cool.
And someone should be fired at Marvel Promotion. Or
Whoever runs the marketing for that
for
film.
Disney. And we're optimistic for the movie, but I know that not a lot of people know Ant-Man, and specifically, not a whole lot of people know Scott Lang.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a mystery Ant-Man.
Scott Lang is pretty well known in comics, but really only if you were reading Avengers comics during a specific window.
Yeah.
Because he definitely is not one of the original guys, because he's much more recent. He came out in 1979.
Right.
And he hasn't been around a whole lot until recently.
And I really don't feel like there's been any huge events around Scott Lang. You
No,
know?
very much he was a supporting character.
Yeah.
He was an Avenger.
He wasn't even a zombie in Marvel Zombies when we did that.
Not in that version, no. In Marvel Premiere, number 47 and 48, again, 1979. Written by David Michelinie or Michelinie, not entirely sure. Art by John Byrne and Bob Layton. So really good art on this book.
I can imagine.
We open in an operating room where Ant-Man, fully sized, human-sized,
Okay.
but wearing his Ant-Man costume.
Okay. In an operating room?
Yeah, he's wrestling with these security guards, and this doctor near the operating table, her name's Dr. Sondheim.
Is the doctor saying, hey, get out of here?
Yeah, she says, she yells that her patient could die if the operation is disturbed. And Ant-Man says he plans to do more than disturb the operation. But he thinks to himself, because if your patient lives, my daughter will die.
So at the front of this comic, our hero has declared death for the person in that room.
Which, by the way, I'll just go ahead and spoil. That part does not pay off.
Really?
Like, the part about...
The stinger opener of this comic does not pay off at all?
I mean, no, we get to that scene, but the idea that if one guy dies, the daughter lives, or vice versa, that does not play into it.
Okay, great.
It's just a really good opening page.
Nice. So we set up high stakes and then never pay it off.
Well, no, I mean, they do, but no, not really. So he uses the canisters on his belt to release the shrinking gas. It's a gas.
Right.
And shrink down and tries to get behind the guards, but the guards notice several ants around him. They take the hose from the sink and spray the ants out of the room. Ant-Man's mask flips down plexiglass over his face so he doesn't drown, but he gets washed out of that operating room.
That's pretty amazing that the cops were like, oh, well, this is far more manageable now. And just blows the ants and him out of the room. It's like, oh, well, I'm glad he turned small.
Ant-Man flashes back to when he was let out of prison. And once again, we see this is Scott Lang.
This is one of Ant-Man's powers. We'll see it a lot in the movie. It's called Super Flashback.
We learn that he was a model prisoner, and he's excellent with electronics. But he got into burglary because it was easier for him than an honest living. But now he's going straight, and the warden helped set up a job interview at Stark International. When he gets out of the prison, outside the prison, he's met up with his daughter, Cassie, who's probably about 6 or 7 years old, his sister, Ruth, and her husband, Carl. And Carl doesn't like Scott.
I can't understand why.
Yeah, Scott...
Is it because he just got out of jail?
It has a lot to do with why he was in jail.
Burglary?
Yeah. He definitely thinks of Scott as a bad egg,
Makes
and
sense.
They were definitely taking care of Cassie when he was inside, and now they're very reticent about putting her back into his life and what that might entail.
As a responsible parent or step-parent would do.
Yeah, but Scott's true to his word. He stays on the straight and narrow. He starts designing advanced security systems for Stark Industries. But then Cassie got sick. We found out that part of her aorta had grown inward, blocking the flow of blood in her heart, and it's inoperable. Her condition worsens, and of course the medical bills pile up, and almost instinctually, Scott starts taking walks and casing some mansions around town that he could potentially rob.
Scotty, no.
Then he hears about a doctor, Erica Sondheim, who's...
Oh, I was half hoping you were going to say Doctor Strange.
No.
This comic just took a crazy turn.
No, we've learned that Doctor Strange is no use medically.
Right.
Erica Sondheim, whose focused laser surgery has some breakthroughs that might be the key to Cassie's condition. Scott goes to the Sondheim Institute to speak with her, but her office and all of her supplies are being loaded into moving trucks. And he's told that she's given up her practice, but he sees her. She's there. She's with the movers, and he goes up to try to ask her for help. And a big guy in a suit wearing sunglasses tells Scott to get lost. Scott punches him in the face. And then
appropriate response.
There's a limousine nearby, and this huge arm, very muscly arm. We don't see anything about the person.
Like monstrously huge, or just like a guy who like lifts everything always?
Somewhere in between.
Okay.
It's improbably large.
So kind of like Kingpin size, where like, the Kingpin's just big, but like way bigger than a person should be.
I would put it at over Lou Ferrigno.
Okay.
Like it's Hulk level, basically. Hulk arm, sort of reddish purple. Reaches out, grabs Scott by the jacket, and the man belonging to the arm says, "Forgive me for being repetitive, my good fellow, but I do believe the gentleman said, 'Beat it.'" And he hurls Scott away.
Like hurls, like chucks him across the street.
Chucks him across the yard, essentially, across the parking lot, into some, against the wall, and the cars leave. Well, the limo leaves. The movers finish their job, and everyone goes home.
To be fair, Scott did just randomly punch a guy.
Yes.
He did not pull a knife or a weapon on him. He just socked a guy.
Yes,
so
that's true.
He totally deserved that.
He was following prison rules, buddy. You got to hit first.
That's true.
Scott does manage to get the number on the limo's plates, and his friend at the DMV helps track down the owner. They track it down to Cross Technological Enterprises. That's who owns the limo, is that company.
Cross Technological Enterprises?
But their compound is huge. To get in, he wouldn't be able to just sneak in. He just knows that. He knows by looking at this, I can't burgle my way into this. Like,
this place is unburglable.
It's the amount of security. He would need to hire muscle. He would need to force his way in. He can't afford that. He doesn't have the capital, so he's going to go rob someone to be able to afford some basically mercenaries.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so
I have to burgle to get enough men to burgle harder.
Well, to not even burgle, but just a forced entry, like, armed robbery, essentially.
Wow.
So he robs one of the houses he was casing. One of them that he notices had a lot of...
So he decides to go forward with this plan.
Yes. No, This is the plan.
So Just to reiterate, his plan is to get the technology back of the doctor that can save his daughter.
Well, no, it's to get in and talk to the doctor.
Is the doctor with the technology? Or did she go with the moving van?
Yes, she did.
So she's in this building.
Because she's going
for some reason.
Yes.
And she's given up her practice for some reason.
Uh-huh.
And her technology is in this building for some reason.
Yes.
And Scott's response is, instead of picking up a phone and maybe getting a little bit more information, like, hey, could I set up an appointment? Or like, do you do house calls? He just goes, oh, I'm just going to burgle a house so that I can hire mercenaries to hard burgle this place.
Yeah.
Excellent plan. Let's see how it pays off.
So he noticed that one house in particular had very sophisticated security and knows that the only reason you have security like that is to protect something valuable.
If you tell me that Scott cases another burgle place to then get guys to burgle the high-tech burgle place to get even more guys to burgle the super burgle place, this will be like a Russian doll situation.
All right, I'm just going to scroll down.
Scroll down the story.
No.
Sorry, everybody.
But it takes him a while. Like, that's the thing this comic actually highlights. It takes him an hour to get around the security.
So this is just an advertisement for the security system.
And then once he gets inside, he has to delicately move through multiple layers of security within the house, which takes him another hour just to get through the house. And
does it actually kind of like detail how he does it?
No,
too?
it just glosses. It just says like he's moving through the house and more security.
So I can't like take notes from this comic.
No, but he does find a lab
in the house.
In the house, and inside the lab there's a closet. Inside the closet there's a costume of Ant-Man.
Oh,
and he recognizes this costume because he knows who Ant-Man is. He didn't even make the connection earlier, but he knows who Henry Pym is. Scott realizes if this does what he thinks it does, he doesn't need to go hire mercenaries. He can go find Dr. Sondheim himself. He goes home, he puts on the costume, he starts testing out the powers. Fortunately, he knows what the suit does and sort of how it should work because he's read issues of Scientific American. So he just has to figure out how to trigger it and what the controls are.
Hey, if you ever steal my suit and you want to know how to operate it, these are the buttons. And this is how you turn them so you don't turn yourself into an atom and kill yourself.
No, just like, oh, I know I'm supposed to be able to shrink down. So where's the button for shrink?
Right.
So he knows that this is what the suit does.
Because the suit can grow, too.
I think so, but I don't know that it has in a very long time.
Because you don't want to do the opposite in your own house.
Yeah.
Just destroy your house immediately.
Exactly. But he can summon ants to himself.
I've always been a little unclear on his ant-controlling powers. Are they, like, friends to him, or do they actually, like, do his will?
And this is the thing, is when he shrinks down, these ants come up and approach him and start swarming around him, but they don't attack him. And he wonders if it's instinctual or if it's something actually built into the helmet, but they sense that he's a friend. And when he asks them to do things, they will do them.
So it's almost like he thinks it and they just come to his command. That's interesting.
So he rides a winged ant into the Cross Enterprises compound. He names it Emma for some reason. He tells Emma to sort of stay close in case he needs it. Is it even a female? Because I think I've heard that male ants are the ones with wings.
I think, guys, I'm so sorry we came so unprepared about our ant research.
If I remember anything from Ant Z, it's that winged ants are males.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, he climbs into the vents, he summons several ant allies, he rides the ants through the vents, and he finds a medicinal smell coming from one of the vents. But before he can actually reach the vent and see what's on the other side, there's a tiny little laser inside the vents. A small heat-sensitive stun laser. Basically, it's there to take care of any escaped lab animals. It would sense them and say, oh, hey, you are out of your pen, and zap them and stun them. So someone can go, oh, where is it? Oh, it's in the vent.
And they can just pull the little sheet down and the little
pick it up and take it.
Animal drops out.
And probably get stunned in the hand, too, but whatever.
Yeah,
maybe
it's not a perfect system.
Maybe they have a little pincher thing they can pick it up with, whatever.
Get the dead animal arm grabby thing.
No, not dead. It's a stun. Remember, it's a stun weapon.
Otherwise, you'd have a bunch of dead animals in your vents, and that's a whole nother problem.
That smells terrible.
Yeah.
But he rides the ants along the walls past the laser, and actually, as they're doing that, the laser goes off. He thinks, oh, wow, it might even be like on a timer, too, just to like take care of, I don't know why it'd be on a timer, but I'm really lucky I didn't go under it.
Right. Did it hit any of the ants?
Didn't hit any of the ants, no. Fortunately.
That would have been sad if it hit some of his buddies.
Outside the vent is a hallway with 2 guards, and he hops down so you can hop on one of their backs. Unfortunately, when you are Ant-Man, you have still the strength that you had as a human. So he basically knocks this dude flat on his back
by just jumping on his back?
Knocks him out.
Oh my god.
And while
wait, does he have the same gravity too? So like him landing on his back is like if a regular size dude landed on his back?
It's really unclear all the time in Ant-Man.
About how his powers
It's
work?
really vague.
Because, like, if he
I'm gonna
subtly
say-
lands on a desk as Ant-Man,
I'm gonna
then I
s-
would also propose that if he subtly lands on a desk, it would be like a full-grown man dropping from a very high place onto a desk, hence destroying said desk.
I would say that it depends on how he hits the thing.
So,
and
like,
how
if
he's
he
like,
lands on it Spider-Man, like, he's fine,
Well,
but if he tries to put some real force into
yeah,
it, then
that's
he can...
that's how I'd reason with it. Again,
Sure.
it's never really mattered, and it's never really made sense.
Okay.
But basically, he knocks this dude out. The other guard's trying to figure out what's going on because, as far as he can tell, his buddy just blacked out.
He just collapsed.
And Scott runs down the halls to the door of the operating room where he smells the medicinal smell.
He's like, well, that didn't go how I thought it would go at all.
But at least that helped with the problem. He
Yeah,
got past
sure.
the guards. He actually gets normal size right before he bursts through the doors, so he can actually have a big dramatic entrance where he says, I'm taking Dr. Sondheim out of here, and nobody can stop him.
Does he actually grow to full size to have a dramatic entrance?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, he does.
He's like, they do this in movies, right? I'm going to do this right now.
This catches us up to where we were. So he's now been washed out of
Oh.
That was the room he got in the fight in, and then he got washed out through the...
So those guards kind of got up and followed down.
Well, there
that-
were guards in the room too, or they were just
Oh, okay.
outside. Like, basically, he fought guards. And
There were guards.
There were guards.
He didn't case that room like he cased literally everything else.
Well, no, exactly. He didn't. He should have. That was dumb.
Yeah.
Um,
For a burglar.
But basically, to catch us up, Cassie's dying in some intensive care ward, and his superhero career is going down the drain. Wait, that's it.
Wait, what?
So as soon as he thinks to himself going down the drain, he has an idea. So he and the ants get into the drain to kind of come up into the lab through the sink.
So he uses the plumbing
Mm-hmm.
to get up into the lab.
But one of the guards is near the sink, looks down, sees a bunch of ants, and he's about to run the water. Ant-Man grows to full size and punches the dude in the nose and knocks him out.
And like breaks his nose probably.
Probably, one assumes.
He's like, man, I should really think through these powers before I use them.
He takes out the last two guards and then tells Dr. Sondheim to come with him. Sondheim says, no, she can't. She has a patient. Ant-Man says he obviously doesn't know what's going on, but she's clearly being held against her will. Like, that much is painfully obvious.
And we still don't know who the patient is.
And he also says he has a patient who's much more important than whatever crook she might be treating. Then the patient...
Wait. Crook? Why are we assuming that this is a crook on the operating
Because
table?
of the big, muscly guys who wouldn't give him the time of day, essentially.
Only crooks will hire big, muscly men to protect their extremely valuable equipment. As we all know, good, smart people only hire feeble, weak people to
Yeah.
guard their equipment and technology.
Yeah, nerds,
Or,
essentially.
Yeah, or believe in the justice system will protect them.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's,
Isn't that
that's
holds
absolutely
up.
ridiculous. Scott Lang is completely wrong in most of this comic
Well,
so far.
he made a leap of logic. Let's see if it pays off.
Okay.
Because the patient says he takes issue with that last remark. He gets up off the table, and he looks like a lumpy purple-red Hulk.
Wait a second. Do I know what this is or who this is?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think I know who the lumpy red-purple Hulk is.
No, and he identifies himself as Darren Cross. And he says, I own this complex, just as I now own Dr. Sondheim. And since you seem quite persistent in taking that which belongs to me, sir, I'm afraid you leave me with no choice but to destroy you, rather utterly. Cross and Ant-Man fight, and while Ant-Man throws a swarm of flying ants into Cross's eyes, and to distract him, and then he tries to punch him in the face, but Cross just quickly knocks him out.
Were they quickly moving ants? Or is like, those things on that table over there are going to get to you in a few minutes?
No,
and
no,
boy,
they-
oh boy, are your eyes going to be itchy.
They flew right into his eyes.
Okay.
It just did not help. It just
Probably
did not solve the problem.
He's like, these are just ants.
Then Cross picks up Ant-Man, who is actually, he's tiny, I should say, at this point. He picks him up with a pair of tweezers and uses surgical equipment to activate his controls and turn him to normal size. Like, he has enhanced vision. So he's able to use the tiny little, like
What a weird set of powers.
the dentist's little hook thing. Like, he's able to use that to activate his buttons.
Sure.
And then he makes him normal size. Then he rips off Ant-Man's controls from his belt. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, he shouldn't have these on him right now. And he
don't need this.
And he snaps the antenna off of Ant-Man's helmet, so he can't summon
Or talk to ants.
the ants. Exactly. He commands the guards to lock Ant-Man up. Ant-Man wakes up, and Cross comes in. He's wearing a robe, which I just think is hilarious. It's not like a bathrobe, but it's kind of like a bathrobe. It's not like a smoking jacket, but it's kind of like a smoking
Pretty
jacket.
close. That's so weird.
And he talks to him. He thinks Scott is Hank Pym because it's, common knowledge, or, at least it's out in the consciousness that Hank Pym was Ant-Man. And Ant-Man says he's not. He's not, but he doesn't say who he is.
He's still in his costume, though.
He is, yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, clearly Scott Lang does not look like
They haven't
Hank
unmasked
Pym.
him. That is another thing that doesn't make any
They
sense.
just don't unmask him. You know what? I know you're Hank Pym. It's like, you could just take off my helmet and know for sure.
No, you're not blonde at all. Oh, never mind.
Never mind. Will I check out who you are? Nope. I'm just going to assume you're Hank Pym.
Anyway, Darren Cross tells his story. He spent his 50 years amassing a fortune and building his company. But a few months ago, he found problems with his heart, and he was told he needed to slow down and stop working. But he doesn't think retirement is living. He found a project under development by one of his staff already, a nuclear organic pacemaker.
What is that?
Constructed of living matter, the pacemaker was grafted to his cells, reinforcing and even boosting the heart muscle. Even though the technicians warned Cross that the device is experimental.
Hey, don't put like a nuclear device in your chest.
It's experimental, potentially dangerous. No one tells Cross no. Like no one tells Darren Cross no.
When anyone ships uranium to someone, I'm pretty sure on the box it's like, look, we know you're not going to do this, but just in case you're like a supervillain or something, don't put this in your chest
don't put
or
it
in your body.
Just don't put it in your body.
Just don't. Put it in like a missile or put it in a factory. Just don't put it in you.
If you're gonna use it to hurt other people. Don't put it in yourself.
Don't be stupid, guys. Anyways, this is the disclaimer for uranium. Enjoy ruling the world.
Anyway, no one tells Darren Cross no ever because he's billionaire or whatever he is,
Sure.
millionaire at least. So they put it in. For a while he was fine, but then his chest started to hurt.
So weird.
His heart...
My chest is hurting. What could it be? What have I done to my chest lately besides carve it open and stick a nuclear device inside of it?
No. It's not a device. It's an organic pacemaker.
But it's run on nuclear power.
It has nuclei in the... It could mean nucleus.
No, it doesn't.
We don't know.
We know it doesn't mean
we
nucleus.
We don't know. You're not a scientist.
That's what he says to himself. He's like, I'm sure it means nucleus. And like the guys are in radioactive suits and holding tongs on the device. They're like, sure it is.
No, that's not what happened. His heartbeat had enhanced so much that his entire circulatory system was enlarging to accommodate the greater blood flow.
So hence all the lumps and stuff.
Well,
he's like really vascular.
We're not
like,
there
this
yet.
This dude looks ripped.
We're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
Right now, it's just his chest just hurts. And the nature of the enhancement made its removal certain death. Like, you can't take this thing out. And he was stronger, he could see better, that was all fine. Then his skin changed color and he started to grow. That's when he got really vascular and Hulk-like and lumpy. Then he found out, it just keeps piling on, he found out the rapid change was eroding his heart, so he needed a new one.
Telling me the change he added to his dying heart started killing his heart.
Yes.
Wow.
So he put in a new heart.
This guy's a billionaire genius, right?
No, we don't know he's a billionaire genius. We know
he's really good at selling cars.
We know he's wealthy, and we know he has a successful business.
And he's a hard worker.
Yeah.
We know this.
He puts in the effort.
Yeah.
He got a transplant, and the pacemaker exhausted that heart too. And the next one.
Oh, no.
It burned through these hearts, essentially.
Where is he getting these hearts?
He learned about Dr. Sondheim's procedures, and Ant-Man even asks, if Sondheim can remove the pacemaker, that would probably still kill you, right? Like, what is your long-term goal here?
Right.
Cross opens up a section of the wall, revealing a window to see several men in jumpsuits sitting around on beds and cots. And Cross says, "Obtuse lad, you missed the point. You see, though my rapid..."
Obtuse lad?
Oh, yeah, he talks very well spoken. "You see, though my rapid cellular regeneration enables me to heal moments after an operation, it also works against me, making it increasingly difficult to complete a transfer before the tissue heals over. Dr. Sondheim's time-reducing procedures, however, have solved that problem, so he can have transplants much faster. Just as these chaps my staff acquired from various slums have solved another. They're my donors."
Oh, no.
Ant-Man is, of course, horrified because he's just taking bums off the street and taking their hearts. But Cross says Ant-Man should be happy because he has postponed the fate for at least one of them. For after all, why should I use a derelict's heart when I can have that of a strong and irritatingly clever superhero instead?
Wow. I mean, that's a clear point.
Yeah, the procedure...
If you're going to put a heart in your body, why not be, a superhero's heart, if you got a choice?
I mean, hey, this one's Ant-Man.
So we've got these two hearts. We've got a derelict heart, and we've got a superhero heart. Now, I know you're going to want to go for the superhero heart, but listen to me. The derelict heart. A lot of things going on with this heart.
Tell me more about the superhero heart.
No. You want to look at the derelict heart, okay? This is pretty much out of your price range. Unless you're a billionaire who's got green and not green, but purple and red skin.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that.
That you have purple and red skin.
I am a billionaire with purple and red skin.
Wow. You know what then? Here you go. Here's Hank Pym's
superhero heart.
Yeah.
Is it Hank Pym really though?
No,
I'm going to take it on faith. I did not unmask him.
It's Moonstone's heart. It's you know what? It's Swordsman's heart.
Swordsman.
How many other random Marvel heroes or anti-heroes can we call up in the next 5 seconds?
The procedure will be tomorrow. So Darren leaves Ant-Man to get some sleep. Again, never unmasks him. Ant-Man...
He will remove his heart, but he will not confirm that it is Hank Pym.
Doesn't care who it is.
Does he check his blood type? Like, again, this guy is a scientist. Like, is he not checking anything? It's just like, I think he's Hank Pym. I'm pretty sure this is Hank Pym. Will I check his blood? Will I check anything that a scientist would check before shoving another organ into my body? No.
Speaking of checking things, Ant-Man fishes out spare antenna from inside of his glove.
He just had spare ones in there?
Well, here's the thing. He knew this was his first go at being a superhero. He thought maybe he might break the antenna because he'd never done this before.
Okay.
Like, one assumes, again, he's a burglar. He has to prepare for eventualities.
Sure. And I guess when he stole that suit, it had extra antennas. I guess
One
Hank
assumes,
Pym
yeah.
must have ran into the same problem. He's like, people are always breaking my antennas.
This had to have happened.
To be fair, the antennas are probably very flimsy, and as a superhero, you spend most of your days getting punched.
He summons ants to go fetch his shrinking gas canisters, but he has to sit tight and wait for them. He has to wait for his ants to bring his equipment, and, that takes a while. And he hears guards out in the hall, whenever the time comes for the procedure. But when they open the door, he's gone. And then he grows and he punches them both out.
Right.
Because the ants got there at the last possible moment, but we didn't see it. It's a very strange choice from a narrative perspective.
Sure.
He summons the flying ants, he hops on Emma, and he rides to the operating room. Cross and Sondheim are arguing she won't complete the procedure until she knows for sure that all of the hearts come from volunteers. This is clearly a conversation they've had multiple times. He's telling her that he has no time for a petty show of ethicality.
These people totally volunteered to have their hearts cut out and shoved into my body. She's like, okay, sure.
But Ant-Man shows up, clocks Cross in the face, and they fight. He's able to dodge more of the blows this time. He knows what he's up against. Then Cross's heart suddenly starts to hurt, and he shouts, "Dr. Sondheim, what's wrong? What's happening?" Then he collapses, and the narration is actually really great here. The narration says, "But the plea dies unfinished, its wake marred only by the dull slap of flesh-striking tile and the wet flub of a blood-filled bursting heart."
Wow.
Sondheim says when Ant-Man interrupted the last operation, she was able to put back in the old heart rather than the new one. She knows she's a doctor. She knows she just violated the Hippocratic Oath severely.
Hardcore.
But she's supposed...
she was like, this is going to blow up a guy's heart.
She couldn't go on with the horror of all the innocent lives of the donors being lost.
Fair.
Yes, she violated the Hippocratic Oath. Yes, she's supposed to save lives, but her rationalization is she knows this dude's killing people.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you got to blow up a heart.
And Ant-Man... You'd be amazed how often that comes up in the Marvel Universe.
Probably a lot.
Ant-Man comforts her and supports her and says, you did what you thought was right. Then he says, "If it's any consolation, I know of a very special life that's waiting, one that only you can save." Which,
wow.
Look, here's the thing.
What a way to shoehorn
his
that in.
daughter is dying.
I know.
I understand that he's lost a whole lot of time to this whole escapade.
He's got a main priority.
But there's just talk about bedside manner.
Yeah,
Really?
A little bit of tact, Scott Lang.
Not...
Look, I know you're going through some real terrible emotion right now. I mean, I know you've kind of shaken up your life and your purpose and meaning by breaking the Hippocratic Oath, and just probably this is the first murder you've ever committed. But if you could do me a small favor and totally operate on my daughter, I'd be really.
By the way, there's
really
not a chance I can afford your
no
rates.
way I can pay for this. By the way, all you know from me is I'm just probably Hank Pym.
I'm a guy.
He could just say that. He's like, yeah, I'm Hank Pym. I'll totally pay you back.
Hours later, Scott is walking around the hospital grounds while Cassie's in surgery. He was told, relax, get some air while she's under the knife, or the beam, I guess.
Under the laser.
Yeah. But when he gets back, Cassie's being wheeled out of the OR to recovery, so clearly not dead. Sondheim tells him Cassie was a textbook case. In a month, she'll be out running touchdowns with the rest of them. He thanks her, and she says to thank Ant-Man instead. Then Yellow Jacket shows up and says,
"It's gonna get real awkward.
Somehow, Doctor, I think he's already gotten his reward." Sondheim seems confused, and Yellow Jacket says, No, I'm not Ant-Man anymore. That's someone else. Excuse me, I actually need to talk to Mr. Lang privately. Scott knows why Yellow Jacket's there. He offers to come willingly. He holds out his hands for handcuffs. And Yellow Jacket says, "No, you don't know why I'm here. I'm not here to arrest you. I'm here to congratulate you. See, when you broke into my home, you didn't disarm all the security. There was an alarm, so I was actually in costume and waiting when he reached the Ant-Man suit. He saw Scott take the Ant-Man suit.
So he was there in his Yellow Jacket
He was
suit.
hiding in the rafters. Curious to why anyone would want the Ant-Man suit.
Adorably, I'm just imagining a tiny Michael Douglas, sitting on the top. Everyone just imagine a tiny Michael Douglas in a little suit, sitting on top of a dresser, just watching watching.
Just waiting.
That's adorable.
He was curious why would someone want the Ant-Man suit, so he follows Scott home and watches him test the hardware. Afterwards, he followed Scott to Cross Technology, but he got zapped by that stun laser. It didn't go off on a timer.
He was the one that got zapped.
He walked underneath
So he's
it.
a crappy superhero.
Well,
to be fair,
we knew that.
These are the Avengers that walked into Ultron's lair and got hit with every possible trap and still didn't know it was traps.
I'll do you one better. This is the guy who built Ultron.
That's true.
We know he's a crappy superhero.
We know he's a crappy superhero.
That's textual.
Also, Hank Pym had nothing to do for these days. His time was spent following this guy around. Doesn't he own a whole company? Isn't he a superhero? He's an Avenger.
Yes, he's an Avenger, yes. He got knocked out. He was too groggy to be of any help, but all he could do was watch, and he saw Ant-Man in action, and he was terrific. He offers to let Scott keep the costume. He says, it seems to suit you somehow. And anyway, the world can always use another hero. And he flies away, because apparently Yellow Jacket can fly. I didn't know that.
Cool. I guess that was one upgrade. He was like, yeah, I'll just be a bug that has wings. Like,
well, he doesn't have wings. He just flies.
Right.
And Scott thinks, maybe this is what I needed all along. I only turned to crime for the thrills, the challenge. But in the last 24 hours, I've gotten all that and more. So yeah, and this is him thinking to himself, I'll keep the costume. Keep it and use it. And the bad guys had better watch out because Ant-Man's back in town.
That is awesome. That was a great main segment. As completely ridiculous as Darren Cross's thoughts about science and or medical procedures go, that was that was just great.
Thoughts implies he thought it through. But
yeah, indeed. And also, I'm pretty sure Darren Cross is in the new Ant-Man
movie. He is, yes.
But I don't think he's gonna be purple and red.
No, I think he's Yellow Jacket actually.
Who knows? Maybe the movie will open with the same stinger that has no payoff, such as
that would be
this man has to die.
That's the
for
thing.
me to win, which also didn't make any sense.
That's the part that doesn't make sense.
At that time, when he broke in there, he didn't even know what was going on with that dude.
No.
He had no reason to say that guy on that slab needs to die in order for my daughter to live. Like,
well, basically what he says is, if your patient lives, my daughter will die, which is not true.
Which is not true at all. Like,
has nothing to do with what's going on.
Live and be like, thanks, doctor, and then she can go on doctoring other people.
It's not. Did you think the laser would just like burn out? Like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you could use it again.
I only have one of these. Sorry, guys.
I don't know how lasers work. I'm sorry.
Jeez. Oh man. Well, that was great.
That part just makes no sense.
Now I can't wait to see Ant-Man. Hopefully, Darren Cross turns into a purple red monster, but we'll have to wait and see till Friday.
Come on, Marvel.
Please
do us right.
Please make it happen. All right, guys. Well, that was our main segment, and that'll lead us into our game. Who am I? All right, this is our game, Who Am I? This is the game where I will hold in my mind the name of a hero, villain, or anti-hero, and through a series of 20 questions, Mike will have to figure out who that person is. Now, this hero, villain, or anti-hero is either Marvel or DC just because comics are insane, and if we open it up to other universes outside of those, it gets pretty hairy and really tough to nail down, so we have to keep some rules in mind. Also, Mike gets 2 lifelines just in case he gets a little bit lost figuring out who this person is. Those lifelines are either an event or a line or quote the hero or villain or anti-hero might have said. All right, Mike, so what is going to be your first question?
Same as it always is, Pinky. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Hero, villain, or anti-hero?
Hero.
Male, female, or neither?
Female.
All right, Marvel female hero. I think I'm going to start with the same question I usually do. Is this character a mutant?
This character is not a mutant.
Alrighty, that does help. Is this character a minority of any kind?
This character is not a minority of any kind.
Okay. Is this character, or has this character been a member of the Avengers?
All right, I'm going to make a ruling that no, she was not part of the Avengers.
Okay. Is this character a human who got powers? Basically, is this character an alien? I guess is the question.
This character is not an alien.
Okay. Is this character an Inhuman?
This character is not an Inhuman.
Does this character have powers?
This character does not have powers.
Okay. That actually makes things a little more interesting. I was not thinking from that perspective. Let's do a quote.
All right. So the quote, and remember, this can be a quote that they might have said or did say. So this is, in fact, a quote that they did say. Mm-hmm. I'm just glad my mom didn't come back. Being beaten to death by my mom would be a downer.
Okay.
I hope that helped you a lot.
Well, no. So what I can draw from that,
sure,
is that this is a modern character.
Yeah, Sherlock.
Or a character, the character who has shown up in modern comics, because that kind of line is very much modern. This character is young.
Which really narrows it down because, as we know, characters in comics age in real time.
Yeah.
So,
Is this Hawkeye? Is this Kate Bishop?
The answer is yes, this is Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
Wow, you were confused and then just direct shot just like Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
You know why?
Why?
Because in the most recent Young Avengers run, the fantastic run by
Is it
Kieran Gillen,
because
all the characters' parents turned out to be evil, or evil versions of their parents came, but not hers.
that is correct.
That's why.
That is. I was hoping you might have drawn something from it, because otherwise that line is very random.
Yeah, it is.
To be fair. But yes, the whole bit about moms.
Because I was trying to figure out, I was like, is her mom dead? I don't know if she is. But then I realized it doesn't matter, because the characters' mothers and fathers were not evil or dead. They were sort of changed and warped and turned into this evil thing that came after them. What was your event?
And the event was she once masqueraded as a supervillain to retrieve an important tape revealing incriminating evidence of an Avenger.
She masqueraded
As
Madame Mask.
Yeah, a little bit of play right there.
Wordplay.
Wordplay.
Tape of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Male. Reportedly killing someone.
Which he didn't.
Right. Forged.
And Madame Mask is not a person you want to... I believe she, tied her up comically, with a bunch of tape in a room.
I think so, yeah.
And
so
and
Madame Mask
masqueraded
was...
as her.
Madame Mask was mad.
Yeah, everybody say that 3 times fast.
Madame Mask was mad. Madame Mask was mad. Madame Mask was mad. So close.
Almost got it. So close.
Next time, Jones.
Next time. All right, guys. So Kate Bishop, the Hawkeye, is the answer. So that was episode 32 of Because Comics. We'll be posting a new episode every other week. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at becausecomics@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram @partialarc. And be sure to check out more content from our comic boy wonder, Mike Christensen, at partialarc.com, where he writes articles every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks for listening, and remember...
Every time somebody remembers the acting career of Shaquille O'Neal, an angel gets its wings.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Do we just give 2 angels wings?
That's true.
Did you guys all just gave a bunch of angels wings?
Yes.
Too many, in fact.
But you have to remember.
You didn't realize this. There's a small amount of angels.
You have to remember the career. You can't just remember, oh yeah, he did a thing. He was in Kazam.
Yeah.
He was in... Steel?
That's it. You just have to remember those 2 movies.
Because comics.